Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening, downloading, and subscribing to the latest edition of the 12 Kyle podcast. I'm 12 Kyle. Check this out. On this podcast, what we're going to talk about is how not to break up with someone. Now, I know what you're thinking. Do you really need to tell people how not to break up with somebody? Well, yeah, you do. And the reason being is that some people, even to this day, don't know how to break up with someone. Now, if you've been following the podcast, you know that a while back I did a podcast on the good breakup. You know, there is a such thing as a good breakup. But we're not necessarily talking about that on this podcast. We're going to be talking about the things that you shouldn't say and you shouldn't do. And again, you know, some people may think, okay, well, that's not necessary. Actually, it is when you think about it. We've all been in relationships. And if you've been in enough relationships, odds are likely that either one or two things are going to happen. Either someone's going to break up with you or you're going to break up with someone else. And I'd like to think that for the most part, most people, if we're being honest, at some point in your lifetime, you're going to get dumped. I mean, hey, it happens to the best of us. Even those of us like myself who are married. Yeah, you know, at one point in time when I was single back in the day, you know, I was dumped before. This happens. I mean, you know, what can I say? I'm human. Hey, it is what it is. And there's nothing to be embarrassed about that. But what happens on the flip side when you have to be the one to pull the trigger on the relationship? How can you handle it? What will you do? It's not necessarily an easy thing to do. When you think about it, breaking up is hard to do, but wrapping up the breakup is even harder. And, you know, I got to thinking about this because I read some things online and it just kind of dawned on me that some people are clueless when it comes to breaking up with somebody. And, you know, it's a very delicate situation. So I want to give you a couple of pointers that I came across, things that may help you out in life going forward when it comes to breaking up with someone, or more importantly, what not to say and what not to do. And these are in no particular order. The first thing, location. If you're breaking up with someone, do yourself a favor. Break up with them at their crib. Don't break up with them at your crib, because if you break up with them at their crib, they're less likely to tear shit up. If they're at your house, all bets are off. I had a friend who he broke up with his girl at his house, and he had like this huge fish tank, and she proceeded to turn the fish tank over when she was upset that he was breaking up with her. And she kicked his dog. I mean, what could he say? He couldn't say nothing. I mean, like, he wasn't going to put his hands on her, but in one fell swoop, she pushed over the fish tank, fish and water and everything was on the floor. And then she turned and kicked his dog. You know, hey, shit happens. Nonetheless, you know, again, if you're breaking up with someone, you want to do it at their place. You know, they're less likely to wild out and tear up their own shit. And if they do, it'll probably be after you leave. It won't be while you're there. And if so, you know, if they decide to do that, you know, hey, you could just watch them tear up their own stuff. But yeah, it's not necessarily the easiest thing to do. But if you do it, again, wrapping up the breakup, one thing that you gotta do, you cannot, I repeat, you cannot do it at your spot. You gotta do it at their spot. The next thing, and I think it goes without saying, but I'm gonna say it anyway. never break up with somebody via text. I mean, I think like that's one of the dumbest and most childish things that you could do. You would never ask anybody out via text, although some people do. But you should never do that. That's corny. And that's like, you're not 12. So if you're out there doing that, stop that. Never break up with somebody via text. That's just dumb. And again, it's immature. And I would like to think that most of you listening are adults. And even if you're not an adult, take what I'm saying as a word of advice. That ain't cool. You never break up with somebody via text. Now, if you think that this person is violent and they may do violence to you, you still don't do it via text. I mean, it's just a sign of respect, I think. And I think respect goes a long way. And I think when you're talking about breaking up with someone, give them some respect. Give yourself some respect and respect whatever relationship that you had. I think that's important. So you need to be there in the presence. They need to be there so that they can see you face to face and understand that, you know, you're not playing games and you're being serious. Because if you send me a text saying that we broke up, how do you know that I received the text? Maybe I'll get the text and I'll act like I didn't get it. Maybe I'll say, hey, you know, I didn't get your text. What do you mean? But yeah, don't do it via text. Do it face to face. Again, if you're man enough or woman enough to ask somebody out to be your man or your woman or wherever the case may be, do them that solid and, you know, go see them face to face and break up with them, you know, again, face to face at their place. Don't do it at yours. But yeah, I think that's just common courtesy. And again, is that something that you necessarily have to tell people? Probably not. But to be honest, because I'm not on the dating scene, and from what I'm told from my friends who are, you know, it's kind of wild out here. So, you know, for those of you out here wilding, come on, man, you can't do that. You cannot break up with somebody via text or email. That's even worse. Nobody wants to read your diatribe. Nobody wants to read your thesis and you telling them why you want to break up with them. It's not cool. And again, I don't know anybody per se that has done it, but from what I can tell and from people that I've talked to, this happens quite frequently. So if you're out there doing that, that's not how you break up somebody. You need to chill. A lot of times when it comes to breaking up with someone, it's, you know, I guess the best way I can describe it is when you're getting to the point where you're about to break up with somebody, normally they aren't necessarily clueless as to the fact that it's about to happen. At least, and I can only speak for myself, like in the years and stuff when I broke up with somebody or somebody broke up with me, you know, I pretty much knew it was coming. I can only think of one time where I got dumped and I didn't see it coming, and it was just like blindsided me. And, you know, I was crushed, man. I was crushed. I'm gonna be honest. I was in the 3rd grade, man. Katina dumped me, man. Shout out to Katina. Yeah, that was the only time I ever got caught off guard. Any other time when I got dumped, you know, I kind of knew it was coming. And so I think, you know, subsequently, I think if we pay attention to things and we keep our eyes open and our ears open, we know when it's coming. So it's, you know, you can kind of brace yourself for the fall, if you will. But one thing that I've learned, and I read this as well, you know, what is said is very key when it comes to breaking up. Now, there's some things that you should not say when it's time to break up. One thing that you should not say when it comes to breaking up: will you be okay? Bruh, why would you say that? Why would you even ask? Because honestly, if you ask her, is she going to be okay? What do you expect her to say? Or what do you expect him to say? Yeah, I'll be fine. That's a lie. You're not going to be fine. You're going to be devastated. That's really just a dumbass question to ask, to be honest. I mean, like, that's not a question. And it's a question that is, thrown out quite often when people break up. But to be honest, you really don't want to know if they're going to be okay or not. And to be honest, if they're being dumped by you, that person is trying to process what it is that you're saying. So they don't know if they're going to be okay or not. So yeah, don't dump me and ask me if am I going to be okay? I don't know. How the hell would I know? I guess. I mean, like, think about it for a second. Listen. If somebody asked you, if somebody said, okay, hey, we're breaking up, I don't want to be with you anymore. And then they turn back around and say 5 minutes later, are you going to be okay? I mean, like, how are you supposed to answer that? There's no answer to that. So yeah, that's really a dumb question. One thing that you should do when you break up with somebody is avoid dumb questions that follow the breakup. The person that you're breaking up with, they're not going to want to talk to you about this stuff. Just break up and get it over with. Don't waste their time sitting there talking about BS. It's crazy. But I proceed. What's another thing? Oh, I've used this one before, back in the day. You're going to find someone so much better for you. No, they're not. You don't even believe that yourself. You're going to find somebody better for you. You're breaking up with someone and you're telling them that they're going to find somebody better. That makes no sense. They are with you because obviously they feel like you are the best person for them. So you telling them, hey, even though we're breaking up, you're going to find someone so much better for you. You think they really want to hear that? Nobody wants to hear that. That's crazy to me. I don't know why people say that. But that seems to be pretty common when it comes to breaking up. Someone telling them that you're going to find somebody so much better. Now, in the back of my mind, I feel like, okay, yeah, if you dump me, yeah, I'm going to find somebody better. I really feel like that. Because I think like every relationship, when you get out of one relationship, your next relationship should be better than the one that you just left. Does that always happen? No. I mean, let's keep it a bean. That probably you might have to go through two relationships before you can get to having one that's better than the one that you're leaving or the one that you left. But again, the last thing that somebody wants to think about when they're being dumped is, being single again. So when you're being dumped and you're thinking about being single, the last thing that you want to hear someone say is they're giving you some type of positive affirmations that there's so many more fish in the sea and that they're going to find somebody better. Who cares? Nobody wants to hear all of that. You really want to just go about your merry way. And, right after they're done talking, you're trying to process everything. You can't soothe and, try to heal someone's feelings by offering the fact that they may find somebody better than you. While that may be the truth, they don't want to hear it. And honestly, if you put yourself in their shoes, you wouldn't want to hear it either. And that's being real. Another thing that people always say when they break up with someone. I hope we can still be friends. Really? For what? This one's tough because I think if there's a true friendship there, you don't necessarily want to let that go. It's funny because I was actually talking to my son Cameron, who's 16 at the time of this recording, and he was going through something with his little girlfriend. And I told him, I said, hey, if you have a genuine friendship, I said, and y'all can be friends, after you break up. And he was like, nah, I don't want to be friends. And I was like, well, I said, it just depends on how the friendship was. And he kind of looked at me strange. And I was trying to tell him, like, maybe down the road, maybe it's just meant for y'all just to be cool, and maybe it just wasn't meant for y'all to be in a relationship. And, things are relationship wise relatively easy at 16, much, much easier than it is at 16 than it is at 26 or 36 or 46. But, it's a slippery slope when it comes to being friends after breaking up with someone, because sometimes there's no closure, and it's really harder for that other person to move on or you to move on if there's no closure. So you break up with them and you say, I hope we can still be friends, and you still want to be friends, and they never really close the relationship and never really get over you. Therein lies the problem. And then as you get older, you want that old thing back. When you're in your 20s, that we can still be friends. That what ends up happening is, you break up and you separate or whatever like that, and then your man or your woman, still calls or they still text like they used to, and next thing you know, you go out with them one time just to kick it. Next thing you know, boom. You splacking. I mean, it's on. And I think we've all been down that road before. So I think it's like, honestly, there has to be some type of severance in the friendship to some degree before you can be friends down the road. Do you want to see other people, after you break up? Yeah, of course you do. But you still want to maintain that friendship. But, I'm going to be honest, ladies, and I can only speak for myself and, the men that I know. A lot of times when we break up with y'all, we still want to keep that closeness or still be friends just because we don't want to see you with anybody else. I mean, I know you don't need me to tell you that, but honestly, that's what it is. And so, and that doesn't make it easier, because particularly if you are, emotionally attached, then, you don't want to necessarily give up on the relationship and the friendship that you have, but that you can't continue to be friends and at the same pace that you were when you were a couple or an item. And so, therein lies the problem. But yeah, one of the dumbest things that you can say, how not to break up with someone, is, I hope we can still be friends. Yeah, honestly, maybe down the road, but right now, in the present, we can't be friends. Not if you want to move on. Now, and then honestly, some people, if you dump me, I don't want to be your friend. I'm done with you. And I admire people like that, because those people are cold-hearted. They cut people off right then and there. Is it logical or realistic? I don't know. I mean, some people are just built like and wired like that. And I'm not mad at that. You have to respect people for who they are and their honesty. Another thing that you can't say at the end of a breakup, how not to break up with someone. One thing you can't tell them: good luck. Who the hell wants to hear good luck? Good luck is something that you tell your boy when he's about to go take a test. You don't tell somebody good luck after you've dumped them. If you say, I hope we can still be friends, that doesn't provide any closure. Good luck is like the ultimate closure. Like that's the end, one would think. But it sounds so cold. Like, it's like you kick me in my chest and you're like, all right, I'll see you later. I mean, nah, you can't tell somebody good luck. Now that's when you're being dumped, that might be one of the things that you really don't want to hear. I mean, it's a whole bunch of stuff that you don't want to hear, but good luck. Like, good luck is something that you say sarcastically to people. It's not like something that you say honestly to someone that means, or someone that meant something to you. What's worse? You tell them good luck and then pat them on the back as they walk out the door? Who does that? But again, these are the kind of conversations that we have to have, because honestly, there are people out there that break up with other people and they say stuff like this. And so you can't say that you didn't know because I told you so. If nobody else tell you, hey, I told you. Don't say good luck when it comes to breaking up with someone. And the last thing that I have here, how not to break up with someone. Another thing that you cannot say, I'm sorry that you're upset. Really? Who's not upset about a breakup? When you're dumping somebody, they're going to be upset. And to be honest, if they're devastated, you should at least try to look like you're devastated as well. There's nothing more humiliating than, someone you dump someone and they're just distraught and just hurt and everything, and you're just looking stone faced like, yeah, all right, well, you can do all this crying, I don't care. We're done, buddy. Good luck. Yeah, you can't do that, man. You can't do that. And so, I'm sorry that you're upset. That's like, it's just not something you should say. Again, should this be a part of the conversation? It shouldn't be, but at the same time, you have to know. And, these are things and pieces of wisdom that I've shared with my sons as well. As they're growing older, like you can't say I'm sorry that you're upset. At that point, you really shouldn't say anything, to be honest. You can say, I understand where you're coming from. I understand your pain, maybe. But again, you're dumping someone and they're mad or they're yelling or even they may be tearing some shit up. You can't say, I'm sorry you're upset. You just can't, because you caused them to be upset. So you're really not sorry. So don't do that. Again, these are just some tips, some things I saw. This is the year of the lover. That's what someone said, at the beginning of this year. I don't know how true that is, but especially with holidays and everything like that coming up, and special occasions, you see people getting engaged, you see people getting married, and you also see people breaking up. Don't be like one guy who, Christmas was around the corner and he broke up with the girl just so he didn't have to buy her a gift. I was only 17. I'm sorry. I ain't know no better. Actually, I did know better, but I should have done better. I'm sorry. And to the young lady, I'm sorry. But you get my point, right? So yeah, don't be that guy. That guy was a jerk. Don't be that guy. Don't be that girl. And I'm just trying to impart some wisdom here. But again, those are the things. That's how you should not break up with somebody. You can listen to this and say, okay, all of what you said is simple, but you'd be surprised. There's a lot of people who do some of these same things. And if these things have happened to you, please do yourself a favor and do not return the favor to the next person, because they're not going to like it. That's going to do it for me. Thanks again for checking out the latest edition of the 12 Kyle podcast. I'm your boy 12 Kyle. I'll catch you guys next time. 5,000.